Welcome to another NJCDC podcast from the Loft, located at NJCDC's Great Falls Youth Center here in Patterson. Since our launch 8 months ago, we've had two objectives: amplifying the voice of youth on important matters of the day, and also educating our listeners on important state programs, particularly those through the Department of Community Affairs. Today's podcast will focus on utility assistance programs. As the cold weather becomes the norm, as this past week has shown, it's more important than ever to ensure that those in need of utility assistance understand that help is available. And today we are honored to have with us two special guests. Christine Guhl Sadovy serves as president of the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities. She was appointed to the role in 2023 by Governor Murphy, following her service as the cabinet secretary to the governor's senior staff. President Guhl Sadovy previously worked at the BPU as a staff person, where she rose to the position of chief of staff to President Joe Fiordaliso while helping advance key priorities including offshore wind, vehicle electrification, and community solar. Prior to serving in the Murphy administration, President Guhl Sadovy held roles at the Planned Parenthood Action Fund of New Jersey and the National Sierra Club. President Guhl Sadovy is a proud lifelong New Jersey resident and is a graduate of Rutgers University. She serves on the board of Anchor House, a Trenton-based youth homelessness organization, and lives at Lambertville with her family. So welcome, and we'll give you an opportunity to say hi in just a moment. We also have with us Fidel Ekhelar, who is an expert in this area of utility assistance, working for the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, which collaborates with the BPU to ensure that assistance programs are highly effective. Let me also welcome someone who has become a good friend of ours, Kaya King, who serves as Chief of Staff at the state's Department of Community Affairs, and who, with her insight, has helped us host a number of our recent podcasts about state government, including today's. And with that, Kaya, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Bob. Good to see you.
Dude,
we keep meeting like this.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's continue.
Well, so excited. I want to make sure, too, to just give a quick little additional background to Fidel Ekhelar. He's been a partner in crime when I had the pleasure of starting as policy director. Fidel and I were in the trenches in 21. And President, I'm sure you remember that time. It was just reactive and getting money and folks assistance as soon as possible while they were, dealing with some of the biggest challenges they had faced. And so I'm delighted to have, two celebrities here today in this space that their names, kind of carry beyond in terms of providing support when people need it most. And that's been the great theme of this series. So Fidel's one of our supervisors at the DCA. He's in our Division of Housing Community Resources, and he oversees our Office of Home Energy Assistance. He's been with DCA since 2007 and with the Home Energy Assistance Program since 2014. He assumed the role of supervisor for the Office of Home Energy Assistance in April 2019. So right before the storm hit, Fidel, good timing.
Yes.
And so as the supervisor of the Office of Home Energy Assistance Program, Fidel has oversight over the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, referred to as LIHEAP. Get ready, folks. We're getting into alphabet soup, so we'll explain it, but that's the fun of government, as well as the Universal Service Fund, USF, and the Winter Termination Program. Fidel, welcome.
Thank you very much, Kaya.
And President Guhl Sadovy, welcome. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thanks so much.
So we want to just kick right in because I think the best part about this this series is really just hearing exactly what are the programs out there that folks may not know about that are hugely important to the quality of life for the residents of New Jersey. So, Madam President, I wanted to hear a bit from you about an overview of the NJBPU, right? Board of Public Utilities, which I don't think gets enough shout out and spotlight, but you all are a part of a lot of some key priorities and mechanics in the state. So can you give our audience members a bit of a flavor of what the BPU does every day to help residents?
Absolutely. So thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me here today. I'm really thrilled to have the opportunity to talk about what government does for people, because I think that is something that, often gets forgotten, that the government is there to provide services for residents. And I think that at the BPU, that is something that we focus on every single day, is ensuring that we have the programs and initiatives in place that help support residents in the state of New Jersey. So we are the utility regulator for the investor-owned electric, gas, and water utilities. For electric and gas, most people in the state of New Jersey, have an electric or gas investor-owned utility. There are four in electric and 3 gas. And so we, through the regulatory authority, we ensure that the utilities are providing safe and reliable service to all of their customers, and that they're doing that at a reasonable rate for customers. And so that's a very high level of our utility overview. And we, as we're going to talk about today, have a customer assistance division. We have a number of customer assistance programs. And we also have a division of clean energy that has been working really hard under Governor Murphy's leadership, and ensuring that we are getting to our goal of 100% clean energy by 2035. And also doing that in a way that takes into consideration the customers and the ratepayers of New Jersey.
I think that's fantastic. I think to hear about this being not just an everyday, direct to community access, but also something macro and looking in the future. 10 years, 2035 is ambitious and exciting. And again, I think makes New Jersey a trendsetter, which we like to be. But I know we wanted to also dive into a bit of the logistics. I know, Bob, you had some questions about that for residents.
Yeah. So, who are these programs designed to exist? And, what do families or individuals who need help need to do? How do they qualify for help?
Sure, absolutely. So just want to acknowledge DCA is our key partner in these energy assistance programs and does a lot of the implementation work of the energy assistance programs. But there are several. I think it's a really important time to focus first on the winter termination program, because that just started on November 15th, runs from November 15th to March 15th. And it ensures that no eligible customers will be shut off from their heat for non-payment, which is so important, as we have seen some even really cold days already this year, to ensure that eligible customers will, still be accruing, their energy bills, but they will not be shut off for non-payment. And that runs until March 15th. We also have several other direct assistance programs. One is the Universal Service Fund, which provides a bill credit for, again, eligible customers who are at or below 60% of the state median income. And that is funded through a utility charge. And it is something that DCA, we work really closely with them to administer. We also work with DCA on the LIHEAP program, which is a federal program that provides heating and medically necessary cooling costs to eligible customers. And then one other one that I think is really important that is helps to ensure people will reduce their energy use and therefore lower their bills in the long term is the Comfort Partners program. And we work with the utilities, but it is run through our Clean Energy Division. It is an energy efficiency program. So not energy assistance, but energy efficiency. It provides grants for energy efficiency upgrades so that customers who are homeowners can save energy, make their homes more comfortable, and that will help to reduce energy costs in the long term. And we are just, I think, at about 130,000 residents who have been able to take advantage of that program and have those investments happen. So those are, I think, just some of the key programs that we work on to make sure residents have the access that they need.
And what do you or others do to make sure that the word gets out there that these are available?
Yeah, so we of course do traditional and social media, but one thing that we have been doing a lot more of in the last year since I've been president, and will continue to do next year, are utility assistance days that are focused in areas where we historically have had customers who have needed assistance. So this week we're going to be in South Jersey, but we have done several events around the state where we partner with our utilities and community organizations so that people can come in person and get assistance with filling out their application, so that they are getting assistance through the BPU, DCA is always also there with us, so that they are able to get support in filling out the application, which is oftentimes the obstacle to getting people the help that they need.
Sure.
I appreciate you saying that, because I think what's so fantastic is we're meeting people where they are. And that's been a consistent theme, I think, in a lot of our episodes when we're talking to people who are in service leadership. What's been exciting, I think, about this administration is that stakeholder partnership. And I think when I hear about the programming coming from BPU, it's to layer in support for people and making sure we're filling in those gaps. Like that winter termination program is a lifesaver. That's the difference between folks putting money towards groceries versus that bill that maybe that's got to wait, but they're not going to be without an essential service. And I want to really kind of credit the BPU and the DCA partnership. I recall us working together on that legislation with our legislative partners. And I think that made a seminal difference, especially during the wake of the pandemic. So I thank BPU for, also kind of joining the charge that DCA has had about let's go to the communities and let's make sure that we're really cultivating something that people can access it, because the application can be a challenge. It's overwhelming. And I want to turn a little bit to you, Fidel, because I think you're a part of that dance, right, with this application process. Yes. And I think it's so important that we're empowering accessibility, which I think is a huge theme at the BPU, right? And is evolving every day with all of our sister agencies. But can you speak a little bit to where you and your office really kind of come into play on providing assistance? I know the president noted LIHEAP, USF, but I want to hear a little bit more about where your office comes into play on some of those and other programs.
Okay, thank you very much, Kaya, and thank you.
Sure.
For the LIHEAP program, like the president mentioned, it's federally funded. And we also administer the USF program, which is funded by BPU. Mm-hmm. And what we do mainly is we have one simple application that qualifies eligible residents for both programs, both for the LIHEAP and for the USF. We just recently went online with the application to make it the only source of application so that people can apply from the comfort of their homes. And what LIHEAP basically does, like the president also mentioned, we provide the heating assistance, and then we also provide the medically necessary cooling for those who need it, who have a doctor's recommendation for it. And then we also have the winter termination program, which we do not put any money out, but we ensure that eligible customers are not cut off during the very cold months of the year. Apart from the heating assistance and the cooling for LIHEAP, we also have the emergency assistance, where if you run out of oil or you have a shut-off notice, you can apply, and if you are eligible, we provide assistance for you. The good thing about applying is once you apply and you're eligible, before the money goes out to the utility, we work with BPU and the utility companies to make sure that there is a hold or a lock on your account, and nobody turns you off until they get the money in. And then we also have the repairs and replacement for heating equipment, where we work with the weatherization unit at DCA to ensure that if a family has a system that is not working, it's fixed so that when so that they can continue to have heat in their homes. Apart from all this, there is also the New Jersey NJ Shares Smart Utility Assistance Program, which is funded by funding directly from the legislature. Is run out of NJ Shares. And that also supplements what LIHEAP and USF does. For USF, it's a monthly credit. It can range from $5, anybody who qualifies for assistance, whether you have the usage or not, gets a $5 credit, up to $180 credit, and it's for both gas and electric. And these are credits that will come into the account on a monthly basis. And we have a network of agencies. We have 30 agencies now that work with us to assist people to complete their applications. And the good thing is they do home visits. If a resident does not want the agency staff to come to their home, they can arrange to meet either at the Starbucks or meet at the public library. And the president also mentioned about the Utility Assistance Day. they have really been very helpful in driving people or creating the awareness that these programs are there to assist them. You mentioned the one in South Jersey that is going to happen on Thursday. I will be there personally because the one in Newark, there were more than 300 people waiting, and we estimate that there will be about 300 people or more than 300 people on Thursday in Vineland. So the agencies covering Cumberland and staff from my office and myself will be there with our laptops to assist people complete the applications right there. And then if they do not have all the required documentations that we need, they will have to email them to us or drop it off with the agency that they prefer to go to.
That's phenomenal, because I think it speaks to a bit about where we're deciding to drive data to need. And what's so exciting, I think, hearing from you, President Guhl Sadovy, and you, Fidel, is that we are organically making sure we're doing, I think, a bit behind the scenes, right? We're already synced in on these events so that we're able to really give accessibility. And Fidel, I know you noted that one-stop shop. I think that's the DCA website.
That is correct.
Right, which I think has been a labor of love for both organizations, because I know your team has worked tirelessly, as well as your team, Fidel, and the leadership in housing, to make sure we're sharing that data intentionally and really removing those barriers. And one of the things I think that's exciting is, as we're getting more online in that complement, but also showing up physically in these spaces, we're hitting a lot more people in a more efficient manner at the time that we can get folks and get these federal dollars, I think, at a really critical time. Bob?
Absolutely. Yep. I'll turn back to you, President Guhl Sadovy. As energy costs increase, and as more and more families struggle to meet their household needs, particularly in a city like Paterson, are you doing anything at the BPU to provide more resources or to expand these programs to meet what I'm sure is an increasing need?
Yeah, so I think that's a great point, Bob. I mean, energy costs are rising. We saw that over the last year. The cost of buying energy is more expensive, but we're also seeing a lot more hot summers. This year was a particularly hot summer, where people who have air conditioning are using more air conditioning, and in order to keep cool, they're going to be using more energy, and their bills ultimately end up going up. So one thing that we initiated this past summer, which was a one-time initiative, was the residential energy assistance payment. That was a $175 bill credit. It was applied automatically, which for me was the most important thing that we could do, was using categorical eligibility. Customers who were already eligible and enrolled in the winter termination program got the automatic $175 bill credit. And that was, again, so important. It provided that credit to about 280,000 customers. Wow. Yeah, really great. Something we were very, very, very proud of at the BPU. And it was the way that we funded it was we had uncommitted funds in our clean energy fund. So, there's a charge on the electric bill called the societal benefits charge. It funds a variety of things, including USF, but it also funds the clean energy program. And so we had leftover funding available, and we wanted to make sure it got back to the customers who needed it the most. And so we applied that credit to working with the utilities, applied that credit to folks' bills in September. But just want to make it really clear that help is there. So as we see energy bills going up, USF is a consistently rolling and changing program. So if there are more customers that need assistance, the money will be there from the USF program. But the uptake of the program is still relatively low, right? Compared to the eligible population in New Jersey. So it's so important that we work with community organizations and local governments to help get the word out about USF, because we want to make sure that as many people who are eligible to access the program are actually taking advantage of it.
Does the fund ever run dry, though? If is it possible to have more subscribers than it can support?
So it would be trued up to ensure that there's funding available, right? It's a utility charge. So it would be trued up to make sure that it's available. But right now, I think the uptake is about 20-ish% for all of the eligible population. So we're not in danger.
So only 1 in 5 eligible families is taking advantage of this?
Based on the population of residents who are at that threshold.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it. So you mentioned this $175 credit, which is terrific. Are there any other innovations or improvements that you're contemplating or perhaps are done in other states that maybe we can look at here in New Jersey?
Yeah, so we are in the process of doing an equity study and looking at both the available assistance programs, but also, the structure of generally rate making and utility regulation in general to ensure that it's the most equitable possible. So we're currently looking at that right now, just thinking through, how can we make sure that people know about the programs, that they take advantage of the programs, because if we have funding available, but 4 out of 5 people that are eligible aren't taking advantage of it, then it's, probably a public awareness issue as much as anything else.
Sure.
So that's really the first place that we're looking right now.
Great. One of the things that I'll just jump in here and say is that we've had an opportunity here at NJCDC to get to know more about the community solar program. And we've actually partnered with one of the companies who does this. And to date, I think we've signed up almost 100 families for community solar, and they get automatically a 20% reduction in their bill each and every month. And it just seems incredible. And so that's an innovation, and I'm sure you've had something to do with it, but it's very exciting.
Yeah, that you gave me a great segue to my favorite program to talk about.
Okay.
So this was, when we talk about New Jersey being a trendsetter and a leader, and particularly under Governor Murphy's leadership, this has been a national model. New Jersey's community solar program, run by the BPU, has been the model that other states across the country have used for community solar. And you did a great job, Bob, describing what it is. So, many residents don't have the opportunity to put solar panels on their roofs. Either they're not homeowners, they are renters. Maybe their roof is, not the type of roof that you need to have, the direction or whatever it is. Or maybe you just, don't want to put it on your roof, or it's an accessibility and affordability issue. So what the community solar program is a centrally located project, like on a warehouse or a rooftop or a former landfill, is created by a solar developer, and customers in that utility service territory can subscribe to the project. So they are accessing the benefits of clean energy, but they don't have to have a roof to build a solar project on. And it is required that you get at least a 20% bill credit. So you're saving 20% on your electric bill. And it also focuses on low and moderate income residents. So 51% of the subscribers for every project have to be low and moderate income residents. And it is really one of the greatest programs, I think, that we've done under this administration. So I'm really proud of it.
It is. And one of the benefits to us as a partner with this company is they provide us with some resources to not only do the work, but to also support what we do as an organization in general. And so as a result of signing up individuals who benefit by that credit on their bill, we as a nonprofit also get some funding that we can use to support the programs that we operate. And it may range from running ESL classes to building a playground. So it has that added benefit. And this is a chance to thank you for bringing and making sure that community solar is such an important opportunity and program for so many people here in the state.
Well, thank you. I have to give credit to the governor and my predecessor, Joe Fiordaliso, who was my boss as well when I was chief of staff, because it really was their leadership and the great work of the staff. But it is definitely one of the programs that I think has really shined.
Absolutely.
Pun there.
Yeah. It's got an incredible positive domino effect, right? Because I think when people think about utility assistance, you've got a very one-dimensional concept. At least I think I did before really getting a sense and working in public sector. because really what it does is it's a facilitator, right, for all of these kind of other elements. One more innovation I just kind of had to hear about was the broadband, because I think it also blends beautifully with this community theme and the partnerships, right? And I wanted to hear a little bit because you've been a huge advocate in that space, and broadband to me feels like another kind of capital stack layer of accessibility and giving people resources and empowerment.
Yeah, absolutely. So, coming out of COVID, I think many folks across the country really realized the disparity in having broadband and not, and how important broadband access is, just, almost like any other utility, in order to go to school, have a job, look for a job, get healthcare. You really need to have high speed internet access. And so, under the Biden administration, there were programs that were created to ensure that states got that access. And so New Jersey is a state that really has some infrastructure challenges, right, in some of the rural parts of the state when it comes to broadband access, particularly the Northwest and the Southwest. But the primary driver or obstacle, I should say, for broadband access, especially in areas here like in Paterson, is the affordability issue. So we are looking at through our Office of Broadband Connectivity, we are looking at how we can ensure that the infrastructure is built to support those rural locations that don't have broadband, or to support more urban locations where they have broadband on the street, but it's an apartment building, and so all of the residents don't have access to broadband. But then also to making sure that whatever available funding we can utilize for accessibility and affordability, we're directing towards those residents who have those barriers to access.
Yeah, if I can jump in here, it's interesting. We have a grant application pending right now with a federal agency that I've never. It's a federal agency, and it's a federal agency that I never heard of before. It's the National Telecommunications and Information Agency of the United States Department of Commerce.
Yes,
I never thought we'd be applying to them for a grant, but they have a digital equity program, and so we submitted a grant application probably about 2 months ago to create a community technology center here in Paterson. And the idea is, just as you said, that there are so many people in this city who just don't have the ability to access broadband at home. And so we hope to be able to help them to really benefit from everything that the internet has to offer through a community technology center. So fingers are crossed, we'll know in a couple of months, but hopefully that's a way that we can extend the benefit of broadband to other people here in Paterson.
Yeah, great.
And I think what's important on what you've noted and what the president noted is that a lot of this is not just about us looking at one kind of trail of resource and then saying, oh, this is what we got, and we're ending here, right? When we have community-based orgs that say, hey, we're going to work with BPU, DCA, we're also going to look at federal funding, and we're really going to make sure that we're interlaying and customized to the audience, right? And I think your point was really important, right? It's not a one size fits all in New Jersey. We love to be different. And we have a potpourri of, residents and communities that have different needs. And I think that's what is so fantastic about this work, is that you've got to be really elastic. And I wanted to pivot a little bit to your elasticity, which I know you have to be able to not just be in this space, but I think the incredible public service you've given to the state over the last several years. And part of what's great about this episode is we get to hear the people behind the work. And I wanted to hear a bit about really, how did your professional journey get you here, and what brought you to public service? Because what I hear throughout and what BPU does is it advocates. And so can you share a little bit about how you got to this moment?
Sure. Yeah, I definitely have a non-traditional career path leading up to this role as the president of the BPU.
We love those.
So I think, but like, to kind of sum it up, and then maybe I'll talk in a little bit more detail, but I really always just wanted to do what I thought was right for the people of New Jersey. I grew up in New Jersey, as Bob mentioned in my bio. I'm a Rutgers grad. My dad worked in government. My mom was a public school teacher. So I have, historically, throughout my career, always wanted to do what I thought was serving the people of New Jersey, either as an advocate in either an environmental group or a reproductive healthcare group, but now into government. So I started my advocacy career working on environmental and energy issues. And that's when I discovered what the BPU was. I mean, most residents don't have any idea what the BPU is, and that's great. We want to just provide services and not, they don't need to know that it's the BPU, right? We want them just to know that New Jersey state government is there for them. But that's where I really learned about the work of the BPU and how influential it is as a government agency, not just from an energy policy standpoint, but from an economic policy and assistance, government assistance providing to residents. And so, I was fortunate enough to meet Governor Murphy, and he was a huge supporter of Planned Parenthood and reproductive health care. And actually his first bill that he signed was restoring funding for family planning services. And so I was very fortunate to be able to come in and work as a staff person at the agency that I admired so much under the leadership of the governor that I admired so much.
Wonderful.
One of the things I've observed is that all too often people who work in government get a bad rap, and people think of government as, well, bureaucracy. And, I think the reality is very different. We can see just in talking today about these wonderful, innovative programs. They don't just happen. They happen because there's a cadre of very dedicated individuals who work hard each and every day to create them, to administer them, and to make sure that people benefit from them. But what advice would you potentially have for anyone, and maybe even for a young person who's thinking about a career in government?
Yeah. Come apply. It is the most rewarding experience I have ever had in my life, is to work in government. When you think about what you're able to do to support the residents of New Jersey, or protect the planet, or help people get health care, it is every single day that I have the opportunity to be involved in a decision that I know the outcome will help the state of New Jersey and help the residents of New Jersey. And so I loved my experience in advocacy, and it was so great to be able to do that. But there is, I think, no greater opportunity to really make a difference in your state or your municipality or your country than to serve in government. And so I would say, come and apply. I'm sure we have a lot of job openings posted.
Well said.
I think what is so great about hearing that too is that, you worked from the ground up a little bit, right? And I think what's exciting about government is that you're not wedded, I think, to a particular type of institution, or even, I think, passion point, right, for social justice. And I think that's the business we're in, right? It's a people business. It's about societal just. And what's really fantastic is I think it's something that you've been able to cultivate over being in those spaces and really learning advocacy from a myriad of angles, right? And, Fidel, I know that you've had, a bit of a career at DCA, but you're also someone who is in the business of people. And I can't tell you how many times I remember you and I were on emails, calls, and really kind of coming to the rescue at the last minute, right? It was almost like the bat signal would go up about, someone who did not have heat. We are right in the season of holidays. And I think folks forget this is usually when the need is the greatest, which is why we wanted to push that out. But I want to hear a little bit about the why for you, because it's not easy work, but it's incredible work. And what drew you to it, and what keeps you going in this every day?
For me, I come from a country where there is nothing like utility assistance, and where nobody advocates for anybody. And when I was back home in the country I came from, I had told my parents that I wanted to be a lawyer. But then when I came here in 2001, the first thing that got me thinking was the level of assistance neighbors were talking about, how the government would normally step in when they thought that they were at their wit ends and nothing was going to happen, where they thought that there was no light at the end of the tunnel. So after my program at Fidel Ekhelar, my eldest brother, who is late now, who was also working for DCA, told me to apply for a position in DCA. My interest in coming to DCA was the lead prevention, because I had worked with many families who had kids who were lead poisoned. So I had the opportunity to work with Veronica de Alessandro in the lead unit. And then when that program sunset, I was asked to go to IHIP, the energy assistance program. And as I was studying or following instructions to know how the program works, I realized that there are many folks who, despite the fact that they needed light, especially those who were on oxygen machines at home, those who really needed light to be on to stay healthy, they were always complaining of being shut off because they couldn't afford their bill. And that really piqued my interest in wanting to work with families to ensure that they do not lose service if they really, really desperately need it. And the other thing that really drove me, or that keeps me going on a daily basis, is a passion for service.
Yes.
And I tell my staff all the time, and I tell the agency staff, if you do not have the passion to do what you do, you may never be able to do it. Because you can sit on the phone and the customer is berating you because the application had been in the system for a very long time and it's not being processed. And you can't get offended because in the first place, you came to serve.
Yes.
And there is this saying, the customer is always right. So if I'm the applicant and I'm calling you and I'm telling you my application has been in the system and there's somebody knocking on my door to shut off my service, the first thing that I would do is look up the application. Is it complete? And move it along immediately to make sure that you notify the utility that, yes, this person is going to get the benefit. So for me, it's the passion and my experience from where I came from. And when I talk to a customer and I tell the customer, your services won't be shut off, because we've spoken to the utility and they are going to preserve your service. It's just that joy in their voice when they say thank you.
Yes.
Because you can't sit on the phone and somebody, take for example, an 80 or 90-year-old resident is calling you, and then all of a sudden the person is crying, I don't know how I'm going to make my next meal, but I must pay this bill. You have to have the passion to assist people like that to ensure that they keep their service. So it's passion and the need to see that at the end of the day, when I'm leaving the office, I've been able to put a smile on people's faces.
Beautifully stated.
It's really great. And maybe we'll conclude by turning back to President Guhl Sadovy. And, I would observe in having this conversation today, it's pretty clear that you're passionate about what you do and that you do it with a lot of enthusiasm. And you mentioned before the word equity. And it's also clear that you really care about making sure that residents throughout the state have access to the programs of the BPU. But just in closing, what drives that? What drives your passion about the work that you do and also your commitment to equity?
Yeah, what a great question. So, I think New Jersey is a state that has such a significant number of disparities when it comes to people's, economic situation. And, I was fortunate enough, to not have, kind of economic challenges growing up, but I did grow up in the city of Trenton. And, my dad was the city business administrator. So I have seen the city evolve over the years. And I think that is really where my commitment comes from, is seeing the kinds of disparities across the state of New Jersey, and wanting to make sure that the opportunities that I had growing up were available to everyone. And that, if you needed something, that government was going to be there to help get you what you needed. And so I think that's probably it.
That's wonderful.
And what's been so valuable, I think, especially for our listeners, is both of you have a connection. I don't know if you've kind of realized even in this conversation, and that is really deciding that we are in the business of catching people, I think, when they're in a tough spot, right? And, you know, I appreciated what you had said, Fidel. The story doesn't always end with the lights on, right? Or with that needed service getting there. But when we have individuals that I think are in the business of service, right? And I love, I think, what both of you kind of underscored, which is, you know, we are here to provide to people. That's what we do. That is the currency, and that's the people business. And the reminder of that, and especially I think in this holiday season, right? And what's great about this, and we hope this is a bit of a gift of information. It's a gift of saying, we've got to bring that 1 in 5 number up. And, you know, for the families that have some level of service insecurity, BPU is there, DCA is there. And we thank you both, because I think hearing this at this time is a reminder to folks that we've got to all kind of pull and give resources, share this information. And we'll be sure to, I think with this episode, to post info from BPU about where to go, that DC Aid site. But, you know, we're in the season of giving, and, you know, thank you both for giving in this, and your dedication, your insight, and, you know, the everyday, right? Answering the call, which I think is the perfect theme for this episode.
Absolutely. I fully concur. And thank you both for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Sure thing.